Turning down. We know that Bill will not be here and Charlie will not be here, but I didn't hear from anybody else. So hopefully we get Carol and Dan. At least one of them.
Did we figure out if we have enough to, if we're going to approve the frog pond?
Yes, if we get either one of them, we can, as long as we have a quorum, it doesn't matter which members, because you all only, the people who've missed meetings have only missed one each. So that's okay. If no one had missed two, in which case we would have had to eliminate them from.
Okay.
We have.
Well, it stopped raining and the sun's coming out.
Is it?
Yeah.
Guess
Here's a
it
nice
hasn't got
surprise.
past me yet.
Yeah, me either. You never know what you're gonna get when you look out the window these days.
Seems pretty consistent, extreme heat or rain.
Yeah. Yes. Well, that is a consistency. Yes.
Or both at the same time.
Yeah.
Really hope we get one of our other commissioners.
Yeah. Well,
I checked my email a bunch of times today. I didn't hear back from anyone else. No.
and there we go. There's Carol.
Okay.
Okay.
Yay, Carol, you're number 4. I can't hear you.
I said I'd rather be number 1.
Well, you are number 1
Number
in
one,
my
okay.
book because you're number 4.
Yeah, thanks a lot. So this is the marathon meeting of July.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well,
piling it on.
hopefully it won't be too bad. Well, since we have everybody and it's 6:45, let's bring this meeting to order. This is the Newburyport Conservation Commission meeting, July 18th, 2023. This meeting's being recorded. First item are the meeting minutes from June 20th, 2023. Anybody have any comments or changes or anything with that?
Look good.
Get a motion?
To approve?
Second.
Roll call. Dan, you're here just in time. We're voting on the meeting minutes. Steve Moore,
Yes.
David Vine,
Yes.
Carol Wagon,
Yes.
Dan Warshaw.
I didn't have anything to add to that, but yeah, I'm a yes.
Yes, me too. All right. Next one is Plum Island updates. Do you have any updates, Julie?
Update on Plum Island is that there is a MRBA meeting scheduled for August 4th, Friday, August 4th at 10 a.m. at PETA Hall. 6 new Moby mats were purchased through 2 different CPA grants, and they've been delivered to Department of Public Services. 3 have already been moved out to 53rd Street and rolled out by DPS, which is great. So now they're moving mats on 53rd and 57th, and then we've got the ramp at 55th. So those are all great accesses. And then 3 more moving mats are being delivered to the parking lot for use by DCR and supplementing what they've got out there to try and fix the pathway from the parking lot out to the beach. But aside from that, there's no new developments out there on Plum Island that I know of.
There was another MRBA meeting since last time. I couldn't go. Was there anything of significance?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember that meeting. It was, yeah, that was a good meeting. A lot to talk about Salisbury and moving forward with trying to get Army Corps, going on their study to figure out how to repair the jetty. And DCR, talking with DCR about the Moby mats and stuff like that. So, and one new development is that we don't have Daryl Forgione anymore. I don't know if you all remember Daryl. I know you probably do, David. But Daryl, who had been brought back to work with the city on our Plum Island, DCR issues, got moved to a new job, and now we don't really have anyone anymore. So we're sort of struggling to find a new good contact person to help us get things done out on the dunes. But we are working on that.
It's too bad.
It's a good move for him. It's a great new position for him, but just it's sad that we got him back and then lost him so quick.
All right. In that case, let's go on to certificates of compliance, et cetera. First item is Lisa Gallagher, 75 Parker Street, request for extension.
Yeah. So 75 Parker Street, I don't know, is Lisa Gallagher here? Let me just check and see. She's
Not
not.
seeing her.
So this project was permitted back in 2018, and the order conditions was extended under the permit extension due to the COVID emergency, under that sort of tolling period that they allowed for permits, but it still would have expired in 2022. And knowing that this was happening, Port City Realty requested an extension to the planning office, and they referenced their planning board permit, special permit back in 2021, when both the Concom permit and their planning board permits were expiring. And they got their extension from the planning board. They, not sort of knowing, they didn't have their lawyers involved, I guess, they not sort of knowing what was happening, they assumed that that meant that all of their city permits were extended. And they only just now realized that their Concom permit was not also extended at the same time. So they are asking us to grant them like a kind of a retroactive extension so that they don't have to start from scratch and refile a whole new notice of intent. Nothing has changed on the project. The plans are all staying the same. And they just want to get started like this summer. So
Julia, is this the property that was going to be turned into something different by the brewery?
no, that's 79 Parker Street.
Oh, okay.
It's a good question because they're like really close to each other. This is 75. This is an existing building. Here's the parcel. So 79 is further up Parker Street on the corner, there's White House and that whole building. This is just an existing 1-story concrete block building that they wanted to put an addition on and add parking and stormwater management. So it's a much smaller project, and they here's the proposed. This is the existing, and here's the proposed. So there's going to be a building addition in the back. And again, nothing has changed. This is still exactly what they want to do. They just, because of various reasons, including COVID and all of that, weren't able to start and are hoping to start now. So rather than make them refile all of this, we have the order of conditions. They're asking if we can sort of retroactively extend it to, when they did the planning board. So it would be, they're only asking for a 2-year extension. I would recommend that we give them a full 3-year extension just because.
Was this Bob Germanara's land?
I think this was the Germanara, but it's not I think it was his property, if I
Yeah,
remember correctly, but I
Okay,
don't think
Okay.
he's involved in this.
so it's a car repair place
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
So if we're doing a retroactive, should we go back to when it was, should the 3 years start back when the other one expired?
So I actually calculated when it would have expired, given the tolling period, the COVID period, which would have been November 28th, 2022. So that's when we can sort of date the extension, but then it would still be extended. Well, it would be extended 3 years from then. So yeah.
Okay, well, that's fine by me.
We need a motion to do the extension.
Yes.
So moved.
second,
Roll call, Steve Moore,
yes,
David Vine,
Yes,
Carol Wagon,
Yes.
Dan Warshaw,
yes,
I vote yes. All right, next item is Jordy Vining, City of Newburyport, Clipper City Rail Trail Phase 2, request for certificate of compliance.
Okay. Okay, here we go. And now let's see who we have. I think we have Dave Smith here to represent this. Yeah, okay, so hold on, David, I'm gonna promote you to a panelist. And if there's anybody else here for that particular project, I will move them over too, but I think we just have David Smith. And David, I have your request for certificate of compliance and the plans, etc. You want to walk us through? Yeah,
Sure.
thank you.
David Smith from GZA 144 Elm Street in Amesbury, here representing the city of Newburyport for the Shoreline Resiliency Critical Infrastructure Protection and Clipper City Rail Trail Project. This project was completed back in May 26th of 2021. The reason for the delay in the certificate of compliance request was because there was a special condition in the order of conditions for 2 years of annual monitoring on the plantings. In 2022, in May, the site was inspected and several of the plants did not make it throughout the season, so they were replaced. And then a site visit occurred back in May 25th of this past year. Jordy Vining was there along with the representative GZA and walked the site. And basically it was determined that, greater than 75% of the plantings, are survived and doing well. With that, we were able to file the certificate of compliance. During construction, there were 3 minor changes that we noted in the cover letter. One of which is the wall reconstruction near the eastern end. 16 feet of it was actually changed from a wall to a stone revetment. That was because during construction, it was discovered that the buried electrical, I believe it's a 13 kV line, was really close to the excavation. So in order to avoid disrupting that utility, that change was made in the field. So that was one change. There was a little bit of landside grading right off the top of the path that was done to incorporate, it was kind of a flatter area that was graded to incorporate the shipwreck structure, and then a hammock seating that was kind of done during construction. So that was the second minor change. And then the third one was the stormwater basin located on the land side of the walkway. That was adjusted by having some crushed stone fabric put in, and then also on the land side slope, that was also stabilized with fabric and crushed stone. I think that's what you see right in that photograph, photo 10. So with that, the city's looking to close out this project.
Okay, anybody got any questions?
So does this doesn't include the extension over off of Parker Street? Is that considered a separate project?
That's correct. This is not included in that work.
Okay, I'll make a motion to issue the certificate of compliance.
Second,
Roll call, Steve Moore,
Yes.
David Vine,
yes.
Carol Wagon,
Yes.
Dan Warshaw,
Yes,
and I vote yes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
All right, next item. Robert Wolsick, Strum Chemical, Mulligan Way, request certificate of compliance.
Okay, that's the wrong one. Here we go. Let's see, we've got, Matt Steinell is here. Matt, I'm gonna move you to be a panelist. Matt can explain this project to you guys, which I think was done quite successfully.
Good evening.
Matt,
Good evening.
So for the record, Matt Steinell from Millennium Engineering, here tonight representing the applicant Strum Chemicals in their request for the certificate of compliance. The commission may recall that we were back before you a couple years ago with an application to install a new transformer pad and transformer on the paved surface next to the building. And then a conduit was going to be excavated and connecting an existing utility pole on the property to that new transformer. Recently, we were contacted by Strem to come out and do the as-built, as they had indicated the work had been completed. And when we did the as-built, we found a couple minor deviations from the plan. But when I spoke with the engineer in the office, Brian, he had said that he had been aware of these changes as they were happening, had communicated some of this information to the commission through their agent. And before you tonight is the as-built plan. And so the deviations that I'll point out, I don't know if you can see my cursor or if it's Julia's screen that you're seeing,
want to
but
show me where to zoom in? I can.
just to that right-hand side of the building there.
Yep.
Perfect. So kind of to the lower part of the screen there, you can see the square where the transformer is. Originally, that was about 15 feet, towards the north of where it is. In the photo package that we submitted, I think what happened was there wasn't enough thought put into the placement of that proposed pad rather. And in the photo on one of the pictures, you can see there's actually a door there. So I think they just had to shift it in order to not block the door. And so that pad got shifted, kind of toward the bottom of the screen there, about 15 feet away from that corner of that building. In addition to that, when the utility company came out to actually make the connection, they determined that it was necessary not to come off of the existing utility pole there. And so there is another transformer just a little bit further up.
Right here.
Right there, yep, there's a transformer there. And just behind that, they installed a new utility pole where the conduit was originally going to come off the pole a little bit north of that and cut in front of that transformer. Now it's overhead to the new utility pole and then comes behind that transformer through the paved section. So the two major deviations is the 15-foot shift in the pad and the installation of a new utility pole that was needed to satisfy the utility company's requirements. Beyond that, the impacts are relatively the same. It's a trench through the paved area. When they were done, they repaved it. You can see in that bottom photo there. And you can, in that top photo, it's a little hard to see, but if you look just to the right of the green transformer, you can see the open door there. So that's where it would have originally been blocking if they had moved it up closer to the corner. Beyond that, I'm happy to answer any questions, but it appears to be done in reasonable close conformance with the plan.
Okay. Anybody?
Motion to issue the certificate of compliance?
Second,
All right, roll call. Steve Moore,
Yes.
David Vine,
Yes,
Carol Wagon,
yes.
Dan Warshaw,
yes,
and I vote yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
You. Okay. Excellent.
All right, next item, David Smith, GZA Environmental Inc., 0 North Reservation Terrace, Plum Island Beach. Request for certificate of compliance.
Yes, okay, so. Here we go. David's already still over here. Is there anybody else we need? I don't think so. Again. Okay, so David, I've got the request, I've got the photos and your whole application, your whole request here. You can just let me know how you want to quickly run through this.
Sure. Thanks, Julia. David Smith from GZA, 144 Elm Street in Amesbury. Here representing the Massachusetts Department of Conservation and Recreation, DCR, for the non-federal sponsor or non-federal project permitting of dredge spoils beneficial use. So this is the dredging project at North Point, Plum Island. The project was completed on or around April 7th of 2023. And with that, an as-built was required as part of the order of conditions. So we went out there and performed an as-built survey shortly after the completion of the project. And that's submitted as part of this request for certificate of compliance. In addition, in the cover letter, there was notes of some following deviations, one of which, and I think most folks will probably know this from being involved in this project from many years, is that there was originally it was 290,000 cubic yards of sediment that was going to be dredged and placed at North Point. And from the Army Corps of Engineers, their volumes totaled 214,625 yards. So it was a reduction of about a little over 75,000 cubic yards. So that's the first change that occurred. The second change is that the Army Corps of Engineers, if you recall, this is an Army Corps dredging project, and their project was to dispose of the dredge spoils behind the South Jetty Spur, and DCR was the non-federal proponent to take the rest of the material, the dredge material, and place it further beyond the Corps' project limits, and basically what you see in the drawing in front of you. The Corps, during the course of the project, increased the elevation of this nourished area. It was originally proposed to be at elevation 6.5, NAVD 88 datum. They raised it 2 feet. So with that, there was a reduction in overall square footage of the nourished area, and that was reflected also because of the volume, the reduction in the volume. The third change, and this occurred during construction, there was 2 contractors on this project. The original contractor, H&L Contracting, and then they subbed out the bulk of the dredging and disposal work to Norfolk Dredging. They accessed the site through the parking lot at North Point by Captain's Fishing Parties, and came and accessed their equipment along the beach, as opposed to the originally proposed way of access, which was going to be along the pathways. So that reduced, certainly the amount of impacts to the pathways and the dune area. And this was brought up in a meeting during construction, attended by Julia, and then we're just basically capturing this as the certificate of compliance. The Army Corps of Engineers, I believe, also provided the pre and post construction plans and photographs, the same photographs we've included with our application. I believe they also included that in the submission to the city's Conservation Commission as well. So with that, we're just requesting to close out this order of conditions.
Do you have any idea how much of what they put there has disappeared already? I mean,
Unfortunately, I don't. We only did the as-built survey shortly after they completed the work. We only have that survey data. We have not surveyed it afterwards.
Is there any downside to the certificate of completion in that if any other work has to be done here, would it be through the previous order of conditions for the bags and stone project, or is that one still open? I'm just thinking if is there any reason not to complete this or the other one?
Yeah, I'm not sure, Dave, about the old one, if that order is still open or not. I would imagine it probably has since expired. Any future work is going to have a new filing.
Yeah.
But David, I believe there is a condition, a special condition in this particular order of conditions, and I wish I don't have it in front of me. I thought I had it up here, but that does allow them to plant and put fencing up and do those types of things within this area. I don't believe we put anything in that allows re-nourishment, but there
Yeah,
are some.
I guess if anything happens, it's probably just as well to start fresh anyway. I mean, it's such a large area that would have to be impacted.
And there are efforts underway to measure any loss of sand out there. So I just got an email from the mayor. He's sort of soliciting any data from folks who may have photographs that we can use to document any loss of sand out there since it was placed. And also, as you can see in these aerial photos that I have up on the screen, this is from UNH, and they've already established some transects that you can see here that they are measuring and changes in the nourishment area. So we should be able to have a good documentation of what's happening out there. I just don't have like results of that at this point. I do have some photos though. You can see this is the planting that was done by UNH and coordination with some school groups. This is taken from the end of 75th Street, where this was sort of the old rock wall. And I'm standing at the end of the pavement at the end of 75th Street. And you can see there's actually there's a person sitting in a beach chair up here. There's a real elevation change. There's like almost a hill that's formed. See if I can get another picture. Sorry that these are so like off center. Here's again, the plantings have been coming in. They're nice and green and healthy. And here's just another shot of that. But it is pretty flat, and this high tide does come up pretty high. So yeah, we'll have to just keep our fingers crossed.
and I'll make a motion to issue the certificate of compliance.
Second,
All right, roll call, Steve Moore,
Yes,
David Vine,
yes,
Carol Wagon,
Yes,
Dan Warshall,
Yes,
and I vote yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can I get a motion to open the public hearings?
so moved.
Can I hear a second?
second,
Roll call, Steve Moore,
Yes,
David Vine,
yes,
Carol Wagon,
yes,
Dan Warshall,
yes,
and I vote yes. All right, the first item is Kim Turner, City of Newburyport, 149 High Street, notice of intent.
All right, let me move gonna move the team for this project over to be panelists. Oops. Right. Okay. And Ashley, right? All right. So now let me bring up.
Julie, if you could let Krista share screen for this.
Yeah, I'll just do that. Sorry, I'm like
That's fine.
trying to identify all your files up here. All right, let's see. So I'm gonna stop share and oops. And now, Krista, you could share your screen. That'd be great.
Great. Thanks everyone for your time again tonight. There were just a few outstanding items that were requested by the commission at our last meeting. One was a final grading plan of the project, which is up on the screen right now. This is a fairly minor grading exercise, a little bit of earth movement, primarily upland, where we're showing positive drainage away from the pond into swales along the hillside that will collect. And then a minor amount of grading inside the pond, which is mostly just the imported material that's going to be brought in. Sorry, can you guys hear me all right?
Yes.
Thank you. And then the creation underneath the dock of where the intake pipe is coming in. So I'll hold that piece for now if you have questions. The second item that was requested by the commission is the revised planting plan, and this more or less just directly responds to the grading. Last time you saw sort of colored bands of species that were indicated by the elevations above the water level. This is a little bit greater detail, still utilizing all the same planting species that were proposed the last time we were here, but this gives a little bit more detail as to exactly where they're going to be placed. And the final item that was requested was additional dock details. So we've provided that information in the packet. We also have a video that shows how the dock is moved in and out of the pond. If there's any desire to see how that's going to work, we can pull that up as well. But in trying not to take too much of the commission's time, I think I will leave it at that for now, and we're open to any additional questions or any other detail that you guys might request. Thanks.
I'm still curious how the dock and the axle for the wheels is going to clear the intake pipe.
Sure. Krista, do you have that detail that shows the crossing of the bracing?
When mic are on reminds me what sheet that's on.
Mike,
That's our first detail sheet. There you go.
So what we did was, and again, this was something that when we presented it earlier, it was more 20% construction document level. And now we're a lot closer to 100% now, because the intent is to try to go to bid as quickly as we can at this point. But the intent is, based on where we are at right now, is that we've actually sunken in the intake screen and pipe so that it falls below the axle. And then so basically what will happen is that there's a ramp that straddles the intake screen itself. And the ramp is above the intake screen itself. So if you could actually zoom out a little bit. Yeah, and then scroll over further to the right. Yeah. So there's a ramp that actually exists, and you can actually see, if you zoom in on that a little bit further, please. Thank you. So what we've done actually is that we've graded the pond, and we've graded it such that the wheels are on a, not on a track, but they're on an ample ramp of stone on either side, and that the intake pipe is set backwards or set back inside this ramp so that as we pull the dock out and push it back into the pond, that the wheels will go and straddle the intake pipe, but also stay above the intake so that as it's extracted and then pushed back in, the wheels stay on the stone ramp that's higher than the intake notch or the niche that we've created in the grading plan. And so that axle doesn't hit the top of the pipe or it doesn't hit the intake screen itself. If you go a couple sheets back, actually, right here, perfect. You can see here that basically what this is it's a graded niche where the intake pipe is set back into the slope closer to where the edge is, but then we have a ramp that is stone lined. It's the same stone that we're proposing to ballast the liner on, but that stone will actually act as a ramp to be able to pull in and pull out on the dock itself, the foldable dock itself. So after reviewing this, we took it to heart. We looked at it really intently. We came up with a pretty good solution, I believe, where we can protect the intake pipe and the intake screen with this sheath of stone, and then the outer edge, which is higher than the intake pipe and the screen itself, will easily slide in and out of the pond, straddling and going over the intake pipe without the axle actually hitting the intake screen or pipe itself.
Okay.
And what would be the mechanism that I saw on your last, well, one of your earlier slides, it said something about 1,400 pounds or so. Is there going to be like a come along that goes with this? What?
I think it's time to cue the video. So I think that would be
I'd like to see the video.
Is it okay if I play a YouTube video for all you folks? Somebody give me a wave if the audio is not working.
So it's easily pushed in. There's two people doing that. It's hinged. It's on rolling wheels so that they're rugged and they can slide in, and those wheels would slide on the stone ramp that we're proposing on either side of the intake pipe itself. And then once the dock is in, then it gets locked in place.
Needed the audio. I figured our discussion would be more important than their advertisement.
Okay, one question I have is the stone ramps, are they won't they start settling and or falling over with multiple runs of this dock back in and out?
Well, there would only be 2 runs in and out per year. So it's not a repeated, it's not repeated to the point where there would be significant fatigue, so to speak. So we only see it being done twice a year, once to pull it in, once to pull it out. That section in particular would be reinforced with additional stone so that it's not necessarily just that an immediate layer or a thin layer stone. That's it's graded and it's filled in a way in that location to be able to withstand the force or the rolling of that dock on that ramp. So it's a wide enough it's a wide enough track so that it's not like the wheels are on, they have enough stone to exactly cover the wheels themselves, or it's not like it's on a track. There's enough give and there's enough play, horizontally speaking, to put this to wheel this ramp in. So I don't expect that to be to rut out. I don't expect it to slough off, especially only using because of its weight and because how the weight's distributed, and the wheels themselves are wide and can distribute the weight properly. So I don't see that as an issue here.
Okay.
Do you think that now that the intake is below the level of the bottom, it's submerged sort of, that the debris will accumulate that will need to be removed?
So it's actually not at the bottom itself. So the way that, so and again, it's the intake itself is not at the bottom. So the intake is actually still at the bottom of the bottom of the pond itself is still 6 inches below that. So the cross section that we saw on the other one, that's the cross section through the screen itself. So there actually still is 6 inches of freeboard or space between the bottom of the intake screen and the actual pond bottom itself. We added additional stone underneath the intake screen itself to help from as a support perspective, so that it didn't have that cantilever detail that we had before. And I know that was one of the comments that we needed to address originally too. So we have a concrete seepage collar within the slope itself. The intake screen itself is supported by an additional 6-inch layer, thick layer of armor stone, but then it's still set above so that it's not taking muck in, and it wouldn't take muck in this area anyway, only because it's more stone as opposed to the benthic sand layer that we're proposing throughout the rest of the pond itself.
I guess I was thinking of vegetative debris that, with all these plants, there's going to be leaves and things that could get sucked up against the screen.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really see that as an issue because the pipe itself is designed to have a velocity of less than 1 foot per second. So the intent really is to have so that the screen really is only there to it's not like a suction screen per se. It's really just a means of blocking out any type of debris that could get in the wet well itself. So water isn't necessarily sucking through there, or at least not in the context that you may be thinking of. The water will be fed from the pond into the wet well by gravity. The screen itself really is only there to protect from turtles or any other type of larger debris from getting in there. The pumps themselves, if there is some amount of debris, there is some amount of solids that the pump can handle, but then those would get filtered out and back flushed into the dry well.
Okay.
There's no problem with the geometry of this as far as where you're going to bring the vehicle to pull it out and pulling it out. There's ample flat area. And a second question was about where it was going to be stored.
I'm not sure. I don't have an answer as far as where it's going to be stored. That would be
It would be stored at DPS.
right. So it would be part right. It would be by the city. If it's DPS, Kim, then that's where it is. So from a geometry standpoint, it would be the dock system itself folds up so that as the dock can be extracted and pulled up, that the sections can be folded up to be able to be stored as it's being extracted.
Mike, right?
I'm sorry?
It could be disconnected and connected again, the segments, right?
Yeah, they're also segmented as well. So if it's a matter of trying to pull it out in one fell swoop, it can be done that way with a hinge, or it can be separated as well.
And the city is all set on the program for the dock and how we're going to get to utilize it and so forth.
Yes, you have a letter from DPS in the packet from Wayne Amaral from the last time around.
Okay.
I have a related question to Steve's about the intake and the niche that's been sort of like created for the dock to go down. Just in terms of like, I'm just imagining it's not going to be sucking a lot of debris up against it and all that. But if in like, say in the fall, when a lot of leaves are falling and a lot of stuff is landing in the pond, if for some reason, and because this is sort of a narrow little niche right there, if for some reason things do start to accumulate within there and block the flow of water through the intake, is there some sort of mechanism where we would know that that's happening? Would an alarm go off if all of a sudden there's no, there's a restriction in flow through the intake pipe?
Absolutely. That's a great question. So the way that it would be alerted to the city through the online platform is that if there were an obstruction in the intake screen itself, so let's say that there's debris or leaves or something that ends up taking the intake screen itself, what would happen is that the wet well inside would start to drop in water level because the water flow going in from the pond couldn't keep up with demand from inside pumping the wet well itself. So what would happen would be there'd be a liquid level sensor that's inside the wet well itself. If that fell below a prescribed level, that would trigger an alarm to stop pumping. And then whoever's managing the system would receive the alert and say, oh, there's an issue with the intake screen itself. So, and there are methods where to be able to clean that out, whether it's surging it back out, surging water back out, or and again, the scenario that you're talking about, which would be the fall, I really don't see this pump system working into foliage season, frankly. I think that we get to September in that area, and then the system begins to kind of wind down to the point where you probably may or may not need to run this. So really the system that we're proposing here is more of a spring to early fall type of operation. Once you get to foliage, once the leaves start to fall, I foresee this system being almost getting prepared to be wrapped up at that point, because we want to be well ahead of winterization so that we can pull the dock out. As we pull the dock out, there can be some inspection that's done for the screen, the intake pipe, that type of thing, before everything's buttoned up in the winter. It's a good question, but there would be mechanisms to be able to identify when, if and when there would be an intake screen clogging issue.
Perfect.
Do we have anything else? Not hearing anything. Would anybody from the public like to speak? Raise your digital hand if so. I'm not seeing any digital hands. So what do we want to do?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
There is a variance request that goes along with this that you all would have to vote on before actually closing.
Oh, correct.
And I do have a copy. I drafted the variance, so I have a copy of it if you want to give it a quick look and then vote on it. I can share
Yes.
my screen again. Here. Like. Here we go. So this would be the variance. Resource areas affected, land under water bodies, bank buffer zone, bank and land underwater. So the variance requested under 6.5-30 for the following activities: disturbance of construction within the 25-foot no disturb buffer zone, disturbance of greater than 20% of the total area of buffer zone on site, direct impacts to bank, and direct impacts to land under water, or which is the pond in section 8A4 of our regulations. And then the findings in support of variance are that there are no reasonable conditions or alternatives. Oops, I spelled that wrong. I'll fix that. That would allow the project to proceed in compliance with these regulations. And they've shown us, we've went through in the early hearings, all of their alternatives, their alternatives analysis. Two mitigating measures are proposed to allow the project to be conditioned, another typo, so as to contribute to the protection of wetland values protected by the ordinance. And as we know, this is a restoration project, so it's entirely mitigation. Essentially, the whole project is an aim to improve the conditions of the resource areas. And then the project is necessary to accommodate an overriding public interest. And again, as described, I say as described above, this historic public landscape will be significantly cleaner, healthier, and more available for enjoyment by the general public as a result of this project. So that would be the variance.
We have any questions on that?
So do you need us to make a motion to accept the variance as written? Well, as it will
Yeah,
be.
with-
amended, as it's
With my
edited?
corrections. Yeah.
All right, so moved.
Second,
All right, roll call, Steve Moore,
yes.
David Vine,
Yes.
Carol Wagon,
Yes.
Dan Warshall,
yes,
and I vote yes. Back to the closing of the public hearings. We got a second on all that, right? I think we did.
I don't think you got a second.
What's
I
that?
seconded.
You seconded, okay. All right, so roll call, Steve Moore,
Yes,
David Vine,
Yes.
Carol Wagon,
Yes.
Dan Warshall,
yes.
and I vote yes. All right. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
You guys.
We'll discuss the notice of intent, or not notice of intent, the order of conditions after this next hearing. All right, on to the next hearing. Newburyport Manager LLC, 0 Browns Wharf, notice of intent.
Okay, so we have Paul Avery, Chris Skiba, and Paul Avery here to represent this project. I'm going to promote them to panelists, and they can walk us through this proposed project. This is-
Julie, can you demote Kim and Krista and other folks?
Yeah. Kim and Krista and everybody, we will be doing the order conditions after this.
Okay. Paul, I'm assuming you're speaking. Go ahead.
Sure. Can I share screen? I've kind of got a deck here that
Yeah,
is probably
absolutely.
gonna be more presentation friendly.
Perfect.
Okay. Whoops. Okay, do you have my screen here with a plan of the goat?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, it's behaving a little bit differently here, so. Okay, so this is the overall plan. This is the Hilton's Marine Building here, not shown on the plan, slightly to the right / east is Tuscan Grill. Newburyport Lighting is down here in the lower right, and then here's the travel lift for Windward Yacht Yard. The marine bulkhead runs existing through, well, it comes down through the top, it comes across the front of the building and then continues over along. There are marina float ramps that go out at 2 locations on either side of the building. The blue line that runs through this is all of this, everything on the plan is land subject to coastal storm flowage associated with the Merrimack River here. The blue zone is just the demarcation between the velocity zone and the regular AE zone. So that's, you know, a differentiation there, but the bordering of the land subject coastal storm flowage flows throughout. The building here has been here historically for a while, primarily operating as Hilton's. And it's been there since at least 1960s. I'm not sure exactly the date was, but we actually, I don't have it here, but documentation that a restaurant use has been present in this building since that time, that we found a newspaper clipping sometime in the 60s that advertised that. More recently, there's been the marina operations in here, and Plum Island Coffee Roasters was on the western portion of the building with outdoor seating beyond, heading over towards Windward. What we're proposing is, as I'm sure you all know, there are ongoing renovations for the interior of the building. We're here because there's some associated exterior improvements we'd like to make as part of that project. And there are really 5 pieces of that. And if I just kind of walk through each one, hopefully get some clarity on what this overall program is. So the first one is basically repairing and reconfiguring the deck here. This deck, and I've got a couple pictures of it, has fallen into some disrepair. The entrance to the goat will be about here. As you can see, there's no accessible accommodations. And it is noted a moment ago, it is in disrepair and it needs to be repaired and improved. So basically jumping back to the plan, and I'll zoom in a little bit, we're going to remove the steps that were just in the photograph we had before, construct some new steps that would be in front of where the entrance will be for the goat. And then also provide a ramp for accessibility, which is just required for ADA compliance. So that is piece 1. Piece 2 is down here at the bottom of the page. This one is putting in a cooler, a walk-in cooler. The way we've got this set up, because it's in the land subject to coastal storm flowage, we're proposing to put it on a trailer, and it would in essence be portable. And if there is a need to remove it, we could just remove it, and there's a fence that goes around it. The fence is also removal. We didn't provide a detail on it, but it would be one of the ones where the posts are set in some just portable structures that could be picked up and moved. The purpose of the fence is screening, because where this is located here, and I'll zoom out a little bit, this is looking east. This is the Newburyport Harbor Walk that was, put in coordination with the DEP to provide public access through this area. It was worked through a few years ago. This is the walk. It's got some planters and that type of thing, so that where the cooler would go would be in this area here, and therefore we're looking to provide the screening to basically separate the back of the house of the goat operations from the public walkway. So that is piece 2.
Excuse me, can I
Piece
ask you?
3, zooming back in, is improving the outdoor seating area. This outdoor seating area is the same area that was.
Hang on a second.
Okay.
Carol, you got a question?
Yeah, just before I lose the thought, you said there'd be screening in front of the walk-in freezer. What kind of screening are you talking about? Are you talking about plants or
We're looking at a solid fence.
a solid fence? Oh,
Yep.
okay.
Chris, did you have any more? If you're here, do you get promoted up? Any more detail on what the intent is on that?
That's okay. I just wondered
Okay.
when you said they would be screened off. I was envisioning trees.
Yeah, so we're showing the plan. We're calling for constructing a removal 8-foot high horizontal slat screening fence.
Let's see. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Move on.
What else
Is
on this
there
one? So-
any setback or anything else that's associated with the Harbor Walk as far as, because it looks pretty close to it? Property wise.
Well, the harbor walk is existing.
Right, but what I'm saying is sometimes there's a additional
Setbacks for
area.
fences.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that that is all on your property and not city.
I think, Julia, didn't you have I think the property continues out further. You had the tax map up at the beginning of this?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I actually think that the walkway actually is on their property, not
I'm
on city
quite sure it
property.
is.
It's sort of just a public
And-
right of way through there, because of chapter 91 and those issues. And, but
So the
also this
only-
is being looked at by zoning.
Okay, so the only easement is the trail itself. Okay,
Right. Okay. All right, sorry, back to piece 3. would be the outdoor seating area here. Again, this is an enhancement of what's been there for most recently Plum Island Coffee Roasters. The same general shape and size. The improvements here that are proposed is we want to bring the grade up to generally be consistent with the floor level of the building. And therefore will be built up slightly. And then we're providing a ramp here, which is necessary for accessibility purposes, and a fence around it. We're looking to finish this area with pavers that go in conjunction with part number 5 that I'll get to shortly. But basically this is it, is improve the seating area that was formerly occupied by Plum Island Coffee Roasters. Okay. The next one, and this is where it gets a little more technical, and I got a bunch of pictures, is we are looking to repair and raise bulkhead to match the adjacent sections. And with this is piece number 5, which is also raising the grade in there and extending the pavers through to have an area for outdoor gathering. This would not be seating for the restaurant. It's just an outdoor gathering area that would be accessible. You know, people can walk through it. If the restaurant was closed, or even if the restaurant was, you'd come up through the walk here and, you know, be able to walk around this. So it would be an area that's open to the public. To wrap your head around this, I've got some details, but they're a little hard to read. I think this is probably the easiest way to see what we're talking about. That as you're coming from windward and the travel lift, that we have a top of the bulkhead, and then it drops down by a foot or more to a lower elevation running across the building. This picture is a little bit old, but you can see that the floor elevation of the building, it's lower than the top of the higher section of the bulkhead, but higher than the top of the lower section of the bulkhead, which basically everything in there is shown in the next thing, and this is looking the same direction, is a bit of a mess of it's basically not safe to walk through here because there's broken bits of concrete, there's remnants of former variations of the bulkhead and other artifacts from the history of what's going on here. So the intent would be is we're going to raise the top of this by, this is like steel piles with timber lagging in between, extend the timber piles and bring the lagging up to be consistent with the wall beyond it. And there's a detail on the second sheet, or I can get into that if we want to. This is then, you know, looking back the other way towards windward, you can see we have the stairway here up to the deck above, which is basically in disrepair and probably unsafe. All of that will be removed. We will be replacing the deck up on the upper level, but it's going to be supported with triangular braces off the side of the building so that all of these columns and structures supports that extend down will be removed, and the staircase will be removed, so it'll be, you know, clear to the sky above, with the exception of the balcony itself and the supports mounted to the building. And this is then looking back into the corner, you know, where we have, this is the higher edge here, and then it drops down. And so this will be brought up and up to a suitable grade elevation and backfilled up to match the floor of the building.
Okay. Can you go back 2 pictures just for a minute?
This one?
The next one. Yeah. Is there an old bulkhead in there that?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So this looks like this is an old bulkhead here, and then yeah. I mean, there's just all kinds of. I think that all, you know, the bulkhead was repaired at one point in time by constructing directly in front of what's there. I don't know the full history of it, but you know, looking at it, it certainly appears that, you know, these are, you know, steel piles with the timber lagging in between that you know, were abandoned in favor of the more seaward version. And that, you know, I don't have the exact heights on it, but it certainly looks like this one at one point in time was higher than the new one, which would be, you know, more consistent with what we're proposing to do by raising it up.
Okay.
So will you be installing new H piles, the steel piles?
No, I would envision that what we would do is just weld on and support as necessary extensions to the existing ones.
Yeah.
I mean, we're only coming up, I mean, I can bring the detail, we're not only coming up like 18 inches or something like that. There'd be
Okay.
no reason to replace the piles.
How about the flowable fill? Can you explain that operation?
I'm not sure I can, because we're getting into a little bit of means and methods here, but the flowable fill to place it in here is what we'd like to do, just because it would, minimize the potential for the erosion that's happened here. I think that what's happened is because of this, materials that are being granular in nature, that they've kind of worked their way out through gaps in the timbers and out into the river over a period of time.
Because I'm under the impression that there was some voids that carried back towards the building. And I didn't know if the flowable fill was for that or just what's shown in this picture.
Well, I think it's all of the above.
Okay, so where's the mechanism to go on the other side of the bulkhead? Is there going to be excavation to track these down or what?
Well, I think we'd come in and we would remove, the debris. I have a section in here that would, so this is a general depiction of the broken concrete slab and the basing and things like that. We would be looking to, I think it would probably make sense to take out some of the loose pieces of debris like the slab, and then, put the flowable fill in on top of it.
Okay.
Will this
The
be
building
connected?
is actually only been there, the majority of the building only since 79.
Since when?
79. I was with Port Engineering when
Okay.
it was done.
Is there any connection between this bulkhead and the work that's going to be done on the bulkhead in the closer to Tuscan Grill? Will it extend?
No, I think this is this is just limited to the section across the front of the building. Oh, wrong slide. Whoops, still wrong slide. Here we go. We're just looking to do this section here.
I see.
And you had mentioned a public walkway, allow the public to get out there. Is there going to be signage and so forth on that?
There could be.
Well, I mean, was that something you decided yourself, or is that something the state was requiring?
We've basically intended to build it that way, so decided it ourselves. That we haven't, we haven't have any provisions for signing, but that signage doesn't mean we couldn't do so.
Yeah. There's a difference the way I look at it. One would be, you don't have to do this, and the other would be that you would, and you'd have signage. So I'm not pressing anything here. It would be nice, but if it's not required, I'm not asking you to.
I think it would be a good idea to have signage. Otherwise, if I were just walking by, I wouldn't know I could go out there.
Okay.
Paul, I didn't notice on the detail plan, will there be a railing?
Yes, there's a railing. So, so basically, just to wrap it up, item 5 is just raising this to grade with the pavers, okay? And I have just as a separate item. But yes, we're proposing to add in, wood railing with cable balusters. I mean, you'd need it because that what you have here is that the top of the pavers is at 90 9.23, and so you're only 6 inches. I mean, this is just like a kickboard here at the top of the bulkhead at that elevation, so you'd have to have the railing there so that nobody falls in. And that's consistent with what's already existing, down by Windward and the travel lift and all of that. Okay, I think you can see, like so in this one here that, this is looking back that we'd be looking at different, a more robust fence than this, but it's the same idea. You've got the railing there that would extend up, to the appropriate height above the finished surface.
And did you have a chance to evaluate the condition of the existing bulkhead onto which you plan to add extensions? Does that appear to be in pretty decent shape?
It appears to be in pretty decent shape. I haven't, done an assessment of it, and that's not my thing, so I wouldn't be, qualified to do it anyway. But, I think we probably would look at, some of the structural details on exactly how you do the extension, and that probably warrants a bit of an evaluation.
Mhm.
But we're not raising it much. But I mean, visually it looks like the steel piles are in good shape, the timber lining is in good shape. It's just everything behind it that's a disaster.
Just to get back to the public access that wraps around the building, would that walk through the outdoor eating area?
Yes, it would. As currently proposed, it would.
So that would be a little awkward.
Well, potentially, yes. So, I mean, to that end, I don't see any reason why we couldn't circumvent that with an opening on this end here, to address that.
Okay.
Yeah, if you're gonna do it, you may as well not mess with the restaurant, or mess
Right.
with the rules you can with it.
Right, and quite frankly, we talked about it internally that we have an opportunity to do a similar situation here. So, right now the access is to go up like you're walking into the restaurant, either by the steps or by the ramp, as opposed to, and I think that it would be feasible to make a connection here, which is sort of a landing seating area adjacent to the gazebo and the security gate down to the marine floats.
Yeah, it seems like there might be like sort of a fuzzy line between what's part of the restaurant and what's a public access area. I wasn't sort of thinking of it when you said public access through there. I was thinking it was like public access for patrons of the restaurant. But if it's really public access, that could get tricky, because I could see also people at the restaurant having a drink and wanting to stand out there as part of their restaurant experience. But then is it like a public way? Seems a little funny.
All right, well, we've given you something to consider too.
How about, I'm sorry, Joe.
Go ahead.
How, any provisions here as far as preventing any kind of turbidity or any during the time this work is going on? I mean, you're going to be backfilling, you're going to be pulling things out of there. You're going to have the flowable fill. Is there anything proposed?
At the moment, there is not, with the understanding that all of this is behind the existing bulkhead, but that certainly can be added.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going so far as to say put in floats and so forth, because like trash floats and things, but at least some type of monitoring of the top of it, just to make sure that people aren't throwing scraps over the side, or they're not, nobody's putting material into the water.
Yeah.
One of those nets, I mean, is that what you're thinking of, David?
Yeah,
You'd have to
something
catch
along,
things.
I'm thinking it would be, probably be sufficient from the top, but
Yeah.
because, just to make sure there's a barrier and that the workers and everybody else avoids sending stuff over the side.
Okay.
Is anybody interested in the site visit of this spot?
I had a couple other questions.
Well, you can do that. You can ask those too.
Okay. Paul, I don't see any utilities that are going into the building. Yet there was utilities that I don't see on these plans.
That is a good question. I don't know if utility services were upgraded as part of the renovations or not, or if they were underground or overhead. I don't know the answer to that.
Well, they were underground. They went through the
Okay.
parking lot because I saw John Hart they're doing them.
Okay,
And I mean, at the time, I didn't report it or anything, but I'd like to at least see it after the
Okay.
fact and have the fact that you show where these utilities are.
okay.
Also, I had a couple other things. This is now a riverfront area which wasn't shown in the order or the notice of intent. That wasn't shown. And also, I didn't see any proof of the endangered species, national heritage letter.
Okay. I think I've got that. If not, I will follow up on it. Okay, so and riverfront. Okay.
Anybody else?
Bye.
Okay, so Paul, do you think you've got the natural heritage letter? You just don't have it with you? I don't remember if I have it.
I do not remember seeing it back. I would have to check my email. I would probably prefer not to do that now. I mean, I think we've got some
Right.
follow-up here to do anyway, so I can,
Okay.
if I have it, I can go chase it down.
Okay,
Okay?
Yep.
But it was sent in.
yeah, I was just thinking that if the
Yeah.
other items were things that you could add to the plans, sort of
Yep.
prior to issuance of an order of conditions, that kind of thing, then, it could possibly, the commission could close the hearing tonight with those outstanding things just being sent in after. But then again, if the commission wants to take a look at the utility lines and if they want to look, we need to make sure the natural heritage maybe has to be continued. It's just that the next meeting is until August 7th.
First, I think.
Is it the first? I thought it was the 7th. No, because it's the first of Tuesday.
Well, first Tuesday, yes, is the first.
The first.
Yep.
Got it wrong. Okay, good. Then that's only 2 weeks.
Yeah, I don't think I have anything from endangered species.
Okay.
I don't think I have anything back from them, so I need to track that down.
Yep.
Okay,
Sounds good.
yep,
I don't know what you're going to see as far as the utilities short of what you provide us. I mean, it's already covered up. You'll just see the paving that was done to repair it. But I'd like to at least have that noted.
yeah. No, I agree. We can get that. I don't know where they are. So we'll get that figured out and add it to the plans.
And I guess it would be nice if, well, I guess we could write it into the special conditions if in fact anything is encountered with the bulkhead. You know, that we should be notified if there's additional repairs or things of that sort.
Yep, understood.
The rooftop that you mentioned earlier, is that just a part of the building, or will that be part of the restaurant?
Oh, the deck up
Yeah.
above?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's, I think what we still have is, Chris, can you, I mean, that what upstairs, that's not part of the restaurant, that's a continuing marina office up there, is that correct?
As of right now, that deck, the second floor is kind of on hold for ADA access. So that's ultimately that deck would be restaurant use, but the ADA access from the first floor to the second floor has to be finalized before we can go through the building department on the second floor. So there's no work being done currently on the second floor.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so is anybody interested in a site visit for this place?
I don't have time. I mean, I can walk down there myself. It's pretty open, but
Okay, well, I'm not hearing a lot of enthusiasm, so
Well, I'm just wondering what they would be able to show us at a site visit. That is there something in particular?
for me, it would be getting a look at the bulkhead and seeing what it looks like from there, and getting a sense of what sort of room there is for all the walkways and everything. But if it ain't moving you, it ain't moving you. So I'm fine with it.
Joe, I'm feeling it, but I'm not sure that I would see anything down there that isn't. The photographs are actually really very good, so I feel like they captured the site pretty well.
Okay.
If you walk in there, you need to do so very carefully. So choose where you step wisely, and but you can look at it from by the marina floats too. So whatever you'd like to do is fine.
Okay.
Climb up those stairs, Joe, and access it from that upper deck.
There you go.
I'm gonna step really hard as I go up them too.
Yeah, Dan was going to volunteer
Just
to go
to make
first.
sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Okay.
what are we doing here? Are we continuing? We closing the hearing?
you need to ask the public first.
Well, that's public first then. Any comments from the public? Questions, comments? Raise your digital hand, please. Still see no digital hands. Okay. So what do we want?
I'm of the opinion we should continue it, but
I kind of am too. I would like to see the updated plans and whatever issues listed tonight get addressed. So personally, I'd rather have this continued till August 1st. If you guys think you can get that information to us by then.
I can get you the information by then. Well, I'm assuming that I gotta figure out what happened with endangered species and that they can be responsive, but I'll track that one down. But yes, that's a reasonable time frame, I think, for what we're looking at here.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. I get a motion to continue to August 1st.
So moved.
Second,
Roll call, Steve Moore,
Yes.
David Vine,
Yes,
Carol Wagon,
Yes.
Dan Warshall,
yes.
and I vote yes. All right. Thank you. See you
All right.
next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, got a motion to close the public hearings.
So moved.
Second,
Roll call, Steve Moore,
Yes.
David Vine,
yes.
Carol Wagon,
Yes.
Dan Warshall,
yes.
and I vote yes. The only order of conditions we have is Kim Turner City, Newburyport, 149 High Street.
Okay, so I prepared a draft special conditions. These are the draft special conditions for an order of conditions, starting with number 19 after the standard ones on the order of conditions form from the Wetlands Protection Act. These are our boilerplate ones. And then we get down
Julia,
to.
can you put
Yep.
that up on the screen?
Yeah,
Oh,
we're
you
not.
can't see this? I'm
No.
sorry. Can you see it now?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I thought it was up there. So these are these are our special conditions, our boilerplate. General conditions, we've got a bunch, pre-construction, during construction, and then we have these special conditions are the ones that we put in additionally based on comments and special requests during hearing. I went ahead and put in a couple already, which would be prior, and I think we've talked about these over the course of the first few hearings. Prior to the start of work, bedrock groundwater well testing data shall be provided to the commission along with final details of any well water treatment systems that will be required for use of the well water within the pond. And prior to the start of work on site, a construction staging and sequencing plan, including location and details of the dewatering system, discharge points, et cetera, shall be provided to the commission for review and approval. And then those were the only two that really I felt like were kind of confirmed through the course of our public hearings. If there are any others that you all want to add, we can add them now.
Do we want to have one for the plants surviving 2 years?
Yep, that's a good idea. So let's add another right here. 6.
Julia, you've got 245s in there.
I know. I have to, this is because we have to do it differently now because of our new online permitting system. All the templates got reshuffled. So I have to like actually manually input all the numbers and change them. So now this will be, I'll fix all these numbers later. So that'll be 46, it'll be 47. But let's just call this all site plantings shall be installed immediately after construction. Well, let's say all site plantings installed as part of the project
Will be monitored for 2 years or something like that.
Yeah. measure at least 75% survival. Anything else?
That looks good.
Is there something in there about the wildlife? That there, they mentioned something about one of the pictures had something about where they were going to be, which I didn't, frankly, I didn't follow, but I know we talked about that before. It wasn't clear if they were going to, what they were going to do about what the animals that are currently there, moving them.
My understanding was that they consistently told us that they would not be responsible for
Yeah, that's what I thought. So is that, do
Wildlife.
do we just leave it that way then?
I thought they said something was referencing some agency or something that you couldn't move them or something to
Yeah.
that effect.
Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe,
they'd have to take custody of them or something and,
You have room at your house, don't you, Joe?
yeah, I got plenty of wetlands. I can,
take the turtles.
yeah, they'll live there.
I think part of the hope was that they would be done with all this construction before things started look to hibernate or estivate or whatever it was, and things would be okay. I guess we'll see.
And they seem to also, I think, imply that if they lost the ones that are there, new ones will come.
Yeah, it was
Right? I think that was implied.
sacrificial.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I
and
just
we're
didn't know
not-
if we wanted to say anything about it, but maybe we can't.
Well, they're also gonna be drawing down the water and giving them an opportunity to escape as
We could say something like, all efforts shall be made to avoid direct harm to existing wildlife on site during construction. You know, so that at least they have to try, you know, move out of the way if the turtles are trying to escape or something.
no, that's
Yeah.
fine.
I'll have to have a turtle crossing sign on High Street.
Yeah, there should be a fox crossing sign too. One ran in front of me on High Street today.
Really? During the
Mm-hmm.
day? During the day?
Yep. Oh, he looked pretty healthy. Moved across, moved pretty quick. Waited for an opening and moved pretty quick. Do we have any other?
Mm.
It's pretty much covered what I was thinking.
Motion to issue the order of conditions.
Second,
All right, roll call. Steve Moore,
Yes.
David Vine,
Yes,
Carol Wagon,
Yes.
Dan Warshaw,
yes.
and I vote yes. And there we have it. A new Mal Pond. All right,
Hey, that's great. Thank you.
that's pretty much it, unless somebody has some new business they would like to discuss.
I had just one question. I think at the last meeting we talked about, or I talked about finding out who in the city was responsible for the landfill.
Yeah.
I guess the solar people have backed out.
Mhm.
Yeah, I did talk with Andy about that after our last meeting, and he said it's a good question. We need to take a look at that. He was gonna bring it up. We are trying to schedule a meeting with the mayor because it involves the lawyers and any other issues that may be coming up around the landfill as well. So he wanted to have us discuss that at one of his meetings with the mayor. We just haven't done it yet, but I will remind him. And if you have any photos, Steve, I'll go out there and try and take some pictures of the site. If you noticed, you said there's trees and stuff. I haven't been out there in a while. So if you have anything you can send me that sort of,
I don't have any pictures, but I can certainly go down there and
I can too.
take some.
No worries. It's on my agenda to do that. And I did talk with Andy about it. So
Okay.
it's gonna come up.
There's also that vernal pool that's right next to the recycling center that in theory, they're supposed to be maintaining and keeping free of Phragmites.
Yeah.
And
In theory.
that hasn't been done for years, so.
Yeah, I mean, in theory, they're supposed to have done a lot of things. I would say that that's probably as much as we would love that to be on their list.
Yeah, I recognize that chances of them doing it are slim to none, but
Right, I mean, we can try again.
yeah,
We can keep trying again. We will put together a list of things.
yeah.
landfill things.
But it would be nice to know who in the city owns it.
Right, right. Right
Owns
now,
what,
Madison-
the vernal pool?
No, it just owns,
Full
Response.
landfill.
the responsibility for the landfill, and maybe it'll fall on
it's-
us, I don't know.
It's Tebow's property. It's not
Yeah,
our property.
it's not our
No,
property.
no,
so-
but making sure that they're doing what they're supposed to do.
Oh, well,
Yeah, that's squarely actually in the mayor's office. It always has been, because it involves so many different issues and it's extensively involved with our legal counsel. And negotiations with Tebow over a variety of different things. So, and that was, even though we have new legal counsel now, because I believe that because that was always with Copeland and Page, that it stays with Copeland and Page. In terms of who's handling that for us, which is good because there's so much history there. It would be hard for someone else to pick it up new, but at the same time, it's not like the old process we got us anywhere. But
we
yeah,
keep
I
trying,
will,
Steve.
what?
Keep trying, Steve.
Oh, yeah, well,
Yeah, I'll check back with Andy and see when we can get that on the mayor's agenda.
I have a question on the oldies, that project that got as far as a discussion about who owned the property, and then it was dropped.
Yeah,
Has that been resolved as far as the ownership?
yeah, apparently it has, from what I've heard in the planning office, they do have documentation showing that it is owned by New England Development. But at the same time, they're not moving forward with that project right now.
So,
Yeah.
The reason I asked is if it was city land or something, reverted to the city or so forth, the fence there wouldn't necessarily be on New England Development's property. And I didn't know if that was something that, I mean, there's a lot of things to take care of that they're important, but I mean, if it would be nice to at least have the fence in the right place. And if the city had more property they could use on the rail trail, it would be nice too.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. It might come back again. I know they had a plan that they wanted to move forward with last year, and they've just sort of put it on pause for now. So it still could come back to us, and we'll be able to take another look at it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think they do.
I'm willing to wait.
All right, got anything else?
Motion to adjourn?
second,
Roll call. Steve Moore,
yes.
David Vine,
Yes.
Carol Wagon,
Yep.
Dan Warshaw,
Yes, please.
and I vote yes. And I saw that yawn, Julie.
All right.
Trying.
All right,
All right.
you can go get rest now.
Thanks. That was good. Thanks, guys. I'll see you in 2 weeks.
All right.
Good night.
Right.